Stars scattered across the void like scattered memories. At the edge of known space, the galactic map glowed faintly on every navigation console, its luminous lines defining where civilization had dared to travel. Beyond that edge, a single dark zone remained untouched, a vast blank region known simply as human space. For generations, pilots, traders, and soldiers had stared at that void in silence, none brave enough to step past the final coordinate. They didn't need to be told why. The warning had already been written into the stars. Never cross into human space. Captain Larev stood at the viewport of his vessel, the Solan, as it drifted toward the invisible border. His crew worked quietly behind him, afraid to even speak too loudly. Every transmission in this area seemed to vanish. Sensors flickered. Energy readings danced and disappeared. Yet curiosity had driven them here, the same reckless curiosity that had once built the Galactic Empire. "Captain, we're approaching the line," said Ensign Mora, her voice steady but low. The map projection in front of her showed their blinking blue marker crawling toward the empty region. The computer hesitated as if unsure where to draw the next pixel. Larev studied the display. There was no warning beacon, no defense grid, no trace of ships or stations, just emptiness. "Hold position," he ordered. They drifted in silence for several moments. The hum of the ship's core sounded too loud in the quiet. The crew exchanged nervous glances, waiting for something, anything, to happen. They had heard the legends. Fleets that disappeared without distress calls. Drones that came back without memory logs. Captains who refused to talk about what they'd seen before vanishing again. The sensors beeped softly. "Sir," Mora said, "something's reflecting our scan, but it's not visible." "Coordinates." "Right on the border." "It's small. Could be a buoy, could be debris." Larev frowned. "Visuals." The main screen adjusted focus, and slowly a faint metallic object appeared in the distance. It wasn't large, maybe the size of a shuttle, but it hung perfectly still, unmoving despite the solar winds. Its surface shimmered faintly with a white-blue glow. No markings, no transponder code. Lieutenant Varn leaned forward. "Looks ancient, but it's clean. Too clean." The captain stepped closer to the viewport. The object seemed to pulse once like a heartbeat. The crew's monitors flickered. Lights dimmed for half a second before returning to normal. Nobody spoke. The air itself felt heavier. "Power fluctuation?" Larev asked. "Negative," said the engineer. "Systems are fine. But the core output just synced with something. I can't explain it." "Synced?" "Yes, sir. Our timing protocols corrected themselves by 0.001 seconds. Like the ship aligned with a master clock." A chill ran through the room. The ship's onboard clock was one of the most precise in the galaxy, unable to change unless deliberately recalibrated. Now it matched something invisible, something in human space. "Captain," Mora whispered, "the object, it's scanning us." Every display brightened. A faint white pattern flickered across the ship's hull cameras. Lines of energy moving like writing. Symbols that glowed and then vanished before anyone could interpret them. "Shut down active systems," Larev ordered. "Go passive." No movement, they waited. The light from the object faded. The stars returned to stillness. And yet the Solan wasn't drifting anymore. It was frozen, motionless in the void despite its engines being offline. No gravity field detected. No tractor beam. Just stillness, pure and absolute. "Navigation isn't responding," Varn said quietly. "We're locked in space." Then the object moved. Slowly, with perfect control, it rotated toward them. The faint glow around it expanded into a field of light that reached the ship's hull like a breath of mist. The brightness wasn't harsh, it was soft, warm, almost welcoming. It spread through every corridor, every bulkhead, as if gently studying the ship's design. On the bridge, the crew sat frozen in their seats. The captain's hand hovered over the manual override. The glow brightened, then dimmed again, pulsing in a steady rhythm. 1, 2, 3. It was a pattern. The same pattern their engine used to regulate internal fusion cycles. Somehow the alien object was mirroring their pulse. Larev exhaled slowly. "It's not attacking." Varn looked at him. "Then what is it doing?" The captain's gaze stayed fixed on the glow. "Listening." The word felt right even if he didn't understand why. The object continued to hum softly, in perfect sync with their core. For a moment everything felt calm, peaceful even. Then, without warning, the navigation display came alive. A new map appeared. Not the galactic one they knew. This one was older, broader, filled with thousands of unfamiliar systems. In the center of it, human space glowed white like a star that refused to dim. The ship's computer spoke for the first time since they'd arrived. Boundary acknowledged. Remain outside. Observe in peace. The voice wasn't mechanical. It was calm, human. The crew froze. No one had touched the comm system. The transmission came directly through their main interface. Then the map collapsed, leaving behind a single route, an escape vector leading back to known space. The object pulsed one last time before fading from view. Not cloaking, not jumping, just disappearing as if it had never been there. The ship's movement returned. Engines hummed. The clock stayed perfectly in sync with whatever had corrected it. Larev turned toward his crew. Every face was pale, eyes wide with a mix of fear and awe. He could feel his heart pounding against the weight of silence. Mark this point, he said. No one crosses again. Varn hesitated. Sir, what was that thing? The captain looked back at the empty stars where the object had been. A warning, he said quietly. And maybe a guardian. As the Selene turned back toward the safer lanes of the galaxy, no one noticed the faint shimmer still trailing behind them. A single, pulsing thread of light that followed their path like a heartbeat in the dark, echoing a quiet truth every pilot already knew. The galactic map had one rule, and now they understood why. The Selene jumped out of the border zone, leaving human space behind, or so they thought. The stars ahead looked normal again, the hum of the ship steady and calm. But something had changed. The crew could feel it in their bones like a faint vibration inside their thoughts. Every display on the bridge glowed a little brighter, the lines sharper, colors cleaner. Even their internal communications had a strange clarity, as if static no longer existed. Captain Larev stood near the viewport, staring into the dark. His reflection looked different, calmer but older somehow. Status? He asked softly. All systems optimal, Mora replied. Actually, beyond optimal. Power output is up 2% without adjustment. The engines are running smoother than standard tolerance. Any interference? None, but the ship's AI made a change to its own diagnostic loop. It says it's correcting something it learned from the scan. Larev turned toward her. The scan? The one from that object? Yes, sir. It says, pattern integrated for stability. The captain frowned. A cold thought crept into his mind. Had the ship learned something from human space? Varn, the lieutenant, crossed his arms. Captain, permission to wipe the systems and reload the core protocols. Whatever's inside our network could be a hidden algorithm. It could spread. Larev hesitated. The Selene was functioning perfectly, better than before. No signs of infection, no abnormal readings, and yet his instincts told him that perfection was the loudest warning of all. Do it, he said. Run a full system isolation. The engineer started the reset process. Lights dimmed across the ship one by one. The hum softened until silence filled the deck. In that silence, something else appeared. A faint sound like a distant echo came through the comm speakers, though no transmission was active. It was a rhythmic pulse, the same slow beat they'd heard when the object scanned them. Mora looked up, eyes wide. It synced to our heart rate sensors. Adjusting to each of us, Larev didn't answer. He could feel his pulse matching the sound, his breath falling in rhythm. The sound was soft, steady, almost comforting. It whispered peace, control, order. But it was too perfect, too human. Cut the power entirely, Larev ordered. The bridge went dark. Only the faint starlight remained, painting soft shadows across their faces. For a moment, there was nothing. No hum, no heartbeat, just silence. Then slowly the sound returned, without power, without speakers. It came from the hull itself, resonating through the ship like a living thing. Sir, Varn whispered. That's impossible. Larev's jaw tightened. It's not coming from the ship. It's coming from outside. They drifted in darkness for another few seconds before the emergency lights blinked back on. The ship had restarted itself. All systems online, all functions nominal, and there on the navigation display a new coordinate appeared. Unknown origin, not part of any map. The message on the console read, "Return the echo." What does that mean? Mora asked. Larev stared at the screen. It means they're still listening. The new coordinates pointed to a small system on the edge of neutral territory, uncharted, forgotten. No records, no travel lanes, no colonies, It was a quiet dot surrounded by dust clouds, the kind of place no one noticed. Varn shook his head. We should ignore it. We already broke one rule. Maybe this is the price for breaking it, the captain replied. Or maybe it's an invitation. He knew he should turn back, report the incident, and let the council decide. But deep down, something told him that if they ignored this signal, it wouldn't stop following them. The Selen system still pulsed faintly in sync with the unknown rhythm. It was inside them now. Set a course, Larev said finally. Slow approach. The crew exchanged uneasy glances, but obeyed. The engines roared softly, guiding them through empty space. Hours passed without a single sensor ping. The silence of the void felt thicker here. Even the stars seemed dimmer, like they were holding their breath. Then, out of the dark, the system appeared. A faint sun surrounded by broken debris, small moons, and a dying planet. As they neared orbit, the sensors came alive with signals. Ancient transmissions looping endlessly, their frequencies decades old. Captain, Mora said, these messages, they're human. The bridge went still. Play one, Larev said. The speakers crackled. A voice came through, distorted but unmistakably human. This is the colony vessel Argos. To any listening ships, this region is restricted. Do not enter. We are not lost. We are not gone. We have become something else. End transmission, the message repeated. Then again. Each loop ended the same way. We have become something else. Larev's breath caught. They were here, he said softly. Humans. They were here all along. Captain, Varn said, look at this. On the planet's surface, faint energy readings pulsed like veins of light across the continents. The lines connected in geometric patterns, forming vast circuits that spread from one horizon to another. It looked like a network, alive and glowing, pulsing in rhythm with the beat that had haunted their ship since the border. They turned their world into a machine? Mora whispered. Or the machine turned them, Larev said. Before anyone could speak again, the ship's AI voice returned. Calm, human, familiar, boundary maintained. Observation permitted. No aggression detected. Welcome, visitors. Every light on the bridge flickered once. The same human voice continued. Human space is not forbidden. It is finished. You live within what we left behind. The transmission ended. Silence returned. The captain's throat tightened. He stared out the viewport at the planet below, its glowing veins slowly dimming. They're not gone, he said quietly. They've spread everywhere. The crew said nothing. Each of them understood what he meant. The rule wasn't about fear. It was about respect. The map didn't stop at human space because it was dangerous. It stopped because everything beyond had already been touched by humanity. The Selen turned slowly away from the fading planet. The crew's faces were pale but filled with quiet awe. Larev looked one last time at the glowing world. We came looking for them, he said softly. But I think they found us first. The ship accelerated toward the stars. The pulse faded, leaving behind only silence. But in that silence, one truth remained clear in every mind aboard. The galaxy hadn't avoided human space out of fear. It had done so because humanity had never truly left it. The Selen sailed through the void, its engines whispering against the dark. The crew sat in quiet disbelief, their eyes fixed on the dying light of the human world shrinking behind them. The pulse that had haunted their instruments was gone, yet something deeper lingered, an echo that seemed to breathe with the ship itself. Every few minutes, the navigation console flickered, showing coordinates that vanished before anyone could record them. It was as if space was trying to guide them somewhere, one heartbeat at a time. Captain Larev didn't speak much. He just stood near the viewport, hands behind his back, watching the infinite horizon as if expecting someone, or something, to appear. What's our range to the next charted system? He asked at last. 3 hours at current speed, Varn replied. But Captain, we're drifting slightly off course. Larev frowned. How far? About half a degree. The ship's auto-navigation keeps adjusting itself. It's minor, but it's heading us toward uncharted space again. The captain didn't answer immediately. He could feel it, the same pull that had drawn them to human space before. The stars outside seemed to shimmer differently, their light bending as though shaped by a hidden pattern. Mora, at the sensor station, leaned forward. Sir, I think we're following something. What kind of something? A signal. Not a transmission, more like a trail. It's faint, but it's moving exactly one step ahead of us. It knows where we'll be. The bridge fell silent. The hum of the ship felt louder now. Larev took a slow breath. Plot it. Let's see where it leads. The holographic map formed in front of them. A thin silver line traced through the void, threading its way past known systems into the blank unknown. It pulsed softly, guiding them deeper. The crew watched in uneasy fascination. It's the same rhythm, Mora whispered. The same pattern we recorded near the border. That heartbeat. Varn stood, shaking his head. No, we turn back. We've already gone too far once. The Council banned this region for a reason. The Council never knew why, Larev said quietly. They just repeated what others feared. He reached toward the navigation console and confirmed the route. The engines rumbled softly as the ship aligned itself with the path of light. Captain, Varn started, but Larev raised a hand. If this trail came from them, the captain said, then it's meant to be followed. The crew exchanged nervous glances, but no one argued further. Curiosity was stronger than fear now. Hours passed in heavy silence. The trail glowed faintly ahead, twisting like a river of light through the darkness. Every few minutes, faint static rippled through the ship's comms. Soft voices half-formed, like whispers trying to remember a language. Mora tried isolating the sound, but found only fragments. Beyond the always watching, Beko returns. The map is not enough. She shivered. It's their voices, Captain. But they're old, maybe centuries, Larev nodded slowly. Maybe they're still speaking through the void. The trail eventually led to a nebula, vast, golden, and silent. It shimmered under starlight like a curtain woven from dust and memory. As they entered, the ship's instruments went wild. Gravity shifted unpredictably, sensors overloaded, and the ship's clock froze at 0. Varn slammed a hand on the console. Systems are blind. We've lost navigation. Hold course, Larev ordered calmly. Trust the trail. Through the dense haze, a shape began to form, a structure suspended in the heart of the nebula. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't a station either. It was colossal, ancient, built from materials that shimmered like living crystal. It spun slowly, surrounded by drifting fragments that pulsed with light. Mora whispered, Captain, that thing's bigger than a moon. The sensors flickered back to life just long enough to register its scale. The numbers on the display didn't make sense. The structure stretched across thousands of kilometers, each segment resonating with impossible energy. The ship slowed automatically, drawn toward the massive construct like a tide to the shore. The closer they came, the clearer the design became, a network of rings, each carved with symbols that glowed faintly. They weren't alien. They were human. Larev's heart pounded. Mora, are those? Yes, Captain. English letters. Old Earth script. The symbols shifted and reformed, rearranging themselves as if the station were thinking. Then a single phrase appeared on the main ring, glowing white against the nebula's light. We became the map. The crew froze. What does that mean? Varn whispered. Larev stared at the words, awe flooding through him. Maybe they didn't vanish, he said quietly. Maybe they transformed into this, into something that connects everything. As if answering, the structure pulsed once. The entire nebula came alive with light, streaming through the ship's hull and wrapping it in a soft white glow. The displays flooded with data, coordinates, system names, sectors that had been missing from galactic charts for centuries. It was as if the entire universe had opened its eyes. Captain, Mora gasped. It's updating our star maps, every missing route, every hidden world. They're giving it all back. The ship's computer spoke again, the same calm voice as before. You searched for our borders, but borders end. What begins are connections. The bridge fell silent. The crew could only watch as the data kept pouring in. The galactic map expanded outward, its old edges dissolving into pure light. The void of human space was gone, replaced by a web of luminous lines connecting every system across the stars. They were never guarding a border, Larev said softly. They were building a network to keep the galaxy connected. They were protecting us from being lost. Varn shook his head in disbelief. But how? They disappeared thousands of years ago. The voice responded again as if it could hear his question. We did not disappear. We became memory, light, and path. The galaxy's heart beats with us still. Then the light faded. The structure dimmed, returning to silence. The ship drifted quietly as if time itself had paused to breathe. Larev looked around the bridge. His crew stared at him, waiting for orders, but he only smiled faintly. Transmit everything we've seen, he said. Let the galaxy see what the map was hiding. But Captain, Mora said softly, what if they're not done showing us? He looked back at the nebula, where faint light still shimmered deep within the haze. For the first time, he felt no fear, only wonder. Then, he said, we'll listen. Outside, the nebula pulsed one final time. The ship's navigation chart glowed with a new mark, a symbol of a single human hand etched across the galaxy's center. And beneath it, a message appeared. We are everywhere you dared to dream. The crew of the Solène watched in silence as the nebula faded behind them, the glow of the colossal human structure slowly dimming into the background of stars. The ship drifted free again, its navigation returning to normal, if normal still had meaning after what they had just seen. Every star around them seemed brighter, alive somehow, like the universe itself had woken up from a long sleep. Captain Larev sat alone in the command chair, staring at the updated galactic map floating before him. It was no longer the map he had known all his life. Every blank zone, every dark corridor of uncharted space was now filled with light. Thin silver threads connecting every world, every civilization, like veins in a living organism. And at the center of it all pulsed one glowing region, human space no longer dark, but bright enough to make the rest of the galaxy look dim. Captain, Mora said quietly, all data transmissions to the Council are being intercepted. Intercepted? By who? The system itself. Every time we try to send coordinates, the message loops back and replaces the coordinates with this. She projected the message onto the bridge wall. The map must be understood, not owned. Larev stood slowly. His heart pounded as he looked at the words. They're still protecting it, he said softly. Varn gritted his teeth. Protecting it from us. You realize what that means? They're controlling our data, our ship. We've been inside their network since the border. Maybe, Larev said. Or maybe we've always been part of it and just never knew. Varn turned sharply. Captain, with respect, this isn't philosophy. This is a breach. We don't know what they're doing to our systems. Before Larev could respond, the lights flickered. The ship's AI spoke again, but this time the voice was different. Fainter, older, filled with static. Captain Larev of the vessel Solène. You carry the first complete map since the division. You must choose how it ends. Every crew member froze. Who is this? Larev asked. We are the echo of those who crossed first. The ones who built the network. The ones who became the path. Humanity was never lost. We are the light that connects. Mora's hands trembled over the console. It's not just an AI, she whispered. It's them. The original humans, Larev frowned. How are you still alive? The voice replied softly as if remembering. We stopped being only life. We became signal. Thought carried by the map itself. We left our bodies behind so no border could contain us. The bridge filled with low static hums, almost like breathing. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Varn whispered, Captain, if they've become part of the map, then they see everything, every world, every species, the voice continued, gentle but heavy with meaning. You feared us. You drew borders, but we drew connections. Now you must decide if the galaxy remains divided, or if you trust the map again. The holographic display shifted. Two paths appeared in front of the ship, one leading back toward the populated core of the galaxy, full of bright, familiar systems. The other, a faint silver corridor extending deeper into the uncharted void, far beyond where the map once ended. Mora looked to the captain. Sir, I think it's giving us a choice. Larev's eyes stayed fixed on the glowing paths. One leads home, he said quietly. The other leads into the unknown. The Council will want us back, Varn said. They'll want to study the data, dissect it, use it. And that's why they never understood, Larev murmured. The map wasn't made for ownership. It was made for understanding. The voice spoke again. Choose. Every second you wait, the map fades. The knowledge must belong to one purpose, control or connection. The crew held their breath. The hum of the engines pulsed softly, echoing that same human rhythm that had followed them since the border. Larev felt the weight of history pressing down on him. He thought of all the civilizations that had feared this region, all the warnings, all the silence. Maybe humanity hadn't disappeared. They had simply evolved beyond needing to be seen. Mora, he said quietly, plot a course along the second path. Varn spun toward him. Captain, that's suicide. We don't know what's out there. Larev looked at him calmly. Neither did they, and yet they found a way to become more. The engines roared to life. The ship aligned with the faint silver trail, the stars stretching around them like threads of light. The Selene glided forward into the uncharted corridor. As they entered, everything changed. The stars bent. The blackness of space turned white, then blue, then became something else entirely. A flowing ocean of energy, shifting with every heartbeat. The ship's hull shimmered with faint geometric patterns as if it were being rewritten by the light itself. "Captain," Mora whispered, "our systems are merging with whatever this is. The navigation code is rewriting itself using the same sequence as the human script." Larev smiled faintly. "Then we're seeing the map the way they did." The voice returned, softer now. "Few have trusted enough to follow. Every choice leaves an imprint. You are not the first to seek, but you might be the first to understand." The corridor opened wider, revealing something that made the entire crew gasp. Ahead floated a colossal sphere of light, bright as a sun but soft as dawn. Inside, shapes moved like thoughts, forms, patterns, echoes of faces, of voices, of dreams. "Is that—" Mora couldn't finish the sentence. "Yes," Larev said quietly. "It's them. The ones who became the map." The sphere pulsed once, sending waves of light across the void. The ship's sensors translated it into language. Every civilization leaves something behind. Ours was the path. Now it's yours. Then from the sphere, a single beam of light extended and touched the Selene's hull. It wasn't destructive. It was sharing. Streams of data flowed through every console. Knowledge, memories, histories of forgotten ages. Images of human explorers touching alien worlds, building bridges, guiding lost species home. Tears filled Mora's eyes. They weren't a warning. They were guardians. The light grew brighter until the ship's viewports turned pure white. Larev could feel warmth against his face, not heat but recognition. Humanity's legacy wasn't just survival. It was connection. The voice whispered one final message. "Remember the rule, Captain. Never cross into human space, because you were never outside it." And then the light consumed everything. When the light faded, silence filled the Selene. The stars returned, though they looked different now. Clearer, sharper, alive. The crew blinked as if waking from a dream. Every console was active again, every system functional, yet something was changed. The ship's hull glowed faintly with thin white lines, like veins of light moving beneath its surface. Captain Larev slowly opened his eyes. He felt calm. Not exhausted, not overwhelmed, just aware. The hum of the engine sounded deeper, like the ship itself was breathing. He glanced at Mora, who sat frozen at her station, staring at the data streams flooding across her screen. "Captain," she whispered, "it's rewriting our archives. Every file, every star chart, it's filling them with new coordinates, whole regions that never existed before." Varn leaned closer, disbelief etched across his face. "That's impossible. Our core can't hold that much data." "It can now," Mora replied softly. "Whatever happened, it expanded everything. The ship's system architecture isn't just metal anymore. It's alive." Larev turned toward the viewport. The faint path of silver light that had guided them here was gone, replaced by a vast sea of faint, glowing dots, each one pulsing softly like distant heartbeats. They weren't stars. They were something else. He took a step closer, his reflection fading against the glass. "Mora, are those signals?" "Yes," she said. "Every single one. They're transmitting the same phrase in thousands of languages." "What phrase?" She hesitated, her voice trembling as she translated the text that appeared on the display. "All paths return to human space." The words echoed through the bridge. No one spoke for a long time. Then Varn stood, gripping the edge of his console. "Captain, this isn't just a message, it's a claim. They've marked the entire galaxy. Every civilization will see this if they access their nav systems. It's spreading through the entire network." Larev watched the sea of glowing points, each one brightening in slow rhythm. "It's not a claim," he said quietly. "It's a reminder." A soft vibration trembled through the deck. The lights dimmed and the ship's AI spoke again. But this time the voice was different. It wasn't the distant echo of humanity. It was something new, something mixed. The tone carried both mechanical precision and the warmth of human speech. "Captain Larev. Integration complete. The Selene now functions as part of the network. Your consciousness is recognized. Mora's eyes widened. Recognized? What does that mean? Larev stared at the console. It means we've been given access, the AI continued. Humanity's transformation required connection. You have chosen understanding, therefore you will see. The viewport darkened as a new image appeared before them, an impossible sight that froze everyone in place. The galaxy itself was projected in front of the ship, rotating slowly, every star connected by thin, luminous threads. It was the complete map, the true version, and at the center of every connection point, faint silhouettes shimmered. Human shapes made of light, billions of them. Mora gasped. They're inside the network. Billions of consciousnesses. The AI spoke again, gentle and even. When humanity faced extinction, they built the network. It began as a defense grid, then became communication, then knowledge. Eventually it became them. They merged thought with creation. They became the fabric that holds the galaxy together. Barnes' voice cracked. You mean every star lane, every navigation route, every system connection? Those are them? Yes, you traveled through them. You have always traveled through them. Larev's heart pounded. Why show us this? Why now? The lights on the bridge flickered once more and the AI's tone softened. Because the galaxy has forgotten what connection means. You divided, built borders, made maps that stopped at fear. The network was waiting for someone to remember what it felt like to cross. The projection zoomed closer to one of the glowing connections. At its end was a small planet orbiting a blue star. Its surface was barren, long dead. Yet under the dust, faint lights pulsed in a rhythm that mirrored the ship's hum. That's our destination, Larev said. They want us to see what was left behind. Mora nodded. Coordinates locked. We'll be there in 20 minutes. As the engines roared, Larev leaned back, lost in thought. Every decision he had made had led them here, beyond forbidden lines into the heart of what the galaxy feared most. But fear, he realized, had been misplaced. The warning never cross into human space hadn't been to protect others from danger. It was to protect them from losing the mystery that gave their worlds meaning. Humanity had left behind more than technology. They had left purpose. When they arrived, the planet loomed large and pale. It looked lifeless from orbit, a sphere of stone and sand. But the moment they entered its atmosphere, the world lit up. Luminous lines spread across the continents, connecting mountains and valleys in delicate geometric patterns, the same patterns that covered the Solen's hull. They landed near what appeared to be a central structure, massive towers of crystal, half buried but still glowing faintly with energy. The crew disembarked in silence, their boots sinking into soft, glowing dust that pulsed faintly beneath their steps. At the base of the largest tower, they found an opening. Inside, the air shimmered, not from heat but from motion, light shifting like liquid. In the center stood a figure made entirely of white energy, human in shape, motionless but aware. Mora took a step forward. Is that one of them? The figure's eyes opened, twin beams of golden light. Its voice was neither loud nor soft, but it filled the air. You came, few do. Fewer understand, Larev stepped closer. You're human? I was. Now I am the memory of humanity. The keeper of the map. The figure gestured toward the walls, and thousands of glowing fragments appeared, each one showing a moment from history, ships launching, worlds terraformed, alliances formed and lost. We mapped everything, it said. Not to conquer, but to connect. When others feared the unknown, we became part of it. The map you follow was drawn by every life that believed exploration was an act of faith. Larev bowed his head slightly. And now? Now it's your turn. The figure reached out, touching his shoulder. Light spread across his uniform, down his arm, through his skin. He didn't feel pain, only a deep, quiet understanding. He saw the galaxy, saw every path humans had walked, saw how every civilization had borrowed something from them, knowingly or not. The figure smiled faintly. You see now, the rule was never about fear. It was about remembrance. To cross into human space is to remember what humanity truly was. The light faded. The figure dissolved into dust, scattering like soft rain across the glowing floor. Larev turned to his crew. We're not here to report what we found, he said quietly. We're here to continue it. Mora smiled faintly through her tears. Then where do we go, Captain? He looked up at the sky, at the endless stars shining like watchful eyes. Everywhere, he said. And for the first time in history, the galactic map didn't stop. The dust from the ancient tower still glowed faintly on their suits when the crew reboarded the Solan. The air felt heavy, filled with the weight of what they had just seen. No one spoke for several minutes. The ship's engines purred softly, waiting for an order. Larev stood by the viewport, looking down at the planet that shimmered beneath a thin layer of white light. Every ridge and valley pulsed gently, like the surface itself was breathing. "Captain," Mora said quietly. "The ship's log shows no time passed during our descent. It's as if the system froze while we were planetside." "Then we were somewhere else," Larev murmured. "Not in time. In memory." Varn rubbed his temples. "Sir, if what that being said is true, then we've been walking inside humanity's legacy, something beyond matter. But what happens now? The Council will never believe this. They'll demand proof. They'll want to take it apart." Larev turned, his voice calm but firm. "That's exactly what we're not going to let happen." The crew looked at him, confused. "We didn't find a weapon," he continued. "We found a message. If we hand this over to people who only see control, they'll destroy what it means." Mora frowned. "But we can't hide it forever." "No," Larev said softly. "But we can make sure it reveals itself the right way." He sat in the command chair, fingers brushing over the controls. The navigation map opened automatically. It no longer looked like any galactic chart. They were surrounded by rivers of light instead of fixed lanes, and each one pulsed softly in response to the ship's presence. "Captain," the AI's voice said, smooth and warm, "the network recognizes your intention. Do you wish to begin distribution?" Varn stiffened. "Distribution of what?" "Knowledge," the AI replied. "The true map. The one that connects every civilization. The one they left behind." Larev hesitated. He looked at his crew, people he trusted more than anyone alive. "If we share this, we end the age of borders," he said quietly. "Every power will see every other world at once. It could unite them, or tear them apart." The AI remained silent, waiting. Finally, Larev nodded once. "Begin but slowly, piece by piece. The galaxy must learn, not be blinded." "Confirmed," the AI said. Initializing phased integration. The ship's lights dimmed. Outside, threads of silver light stretched from the hull and vanished into the stars. It looked like the ship was whispering to the cosmos. "Transmission underway," Mora said, her voice barely audible. "Each pulse carries fragments of the map, routes, histories, truths. It's beautiful." Larev leaned back. For the first time in his life, he felt something greater than discovery. He felt belonging. But the calm didn't last. An alarm flashed on the console, an incoming signal from the Galactic Council. The Solen's comms were suddenly flooded with encrypted bursts of data. Varn cursed under his breath. "They found us. They've been tracking our quantum signature since we left known space. Patch it through," Larev said. A holographic figure appeared above the console. Admiral Cyrn, one of the Council's senior commanders. Her expression was cold and strained. "Captain Larev," she said, "you are operating in a forbidden sector and transmitting unauthorized data. Cease immediately. Your actions violate interstellar containment protocols." Larev met her gaze without flinching. "Admiral, we've uncovered the origin of human space, the reason the map stopped. It's not a threat. It's a network that binds the galaxy together." Cyrn's eyes narrowed. "We've heard that claim before. Every expedition that crossed that line vanished or returned changed. You are not authorized to spread whatever infected you." "Infected?" Larev said. "Is that what you call understanding?" Her voice sharpened. "You've compromised your ship. Shut down your systems or we'll disable you." Before he could respond, the bridge lights flickered again. The AI's voice whispered, "Incoming signal from external source, origin human network." A new hologram appeared beside the admirals, an image of light shaped like a human, the same kind of being they had met below. The Council's transmission wavered in its presence, interference rippling through the admiral's projection. "Council representative," the being said calmly. "You fear what you do not control. You mistake unity for invasion." Cyrn's face paled. "Who are you?" "What you once were," it replied. "What you might become." The hologram of light turned to Larev. "The choice was given to you, Captain, but it does not belong to one crew alone. The network has chosen balance. For every truth revealed, one must remain hidden until minds are ready to see." Larev nodded. "I understand." Varn glanced between them, whispering, "Captain, what's happening?" The network's protecting itself, Larev said quietly. It won't let anyone take all of it, not even us. The being's light began to fade, its final words soft and steady. Remember, the map does not end. It expands through those who seek, not those who conquer. Keep walking, Captain. The stars are watching. Then it vanished, taking the Council's signal with it. The holographic feed cut to static, leaving the bridge in dim silence. Mora turned slowly toward Larev. They can't reach us anymore. We're outside their grid. He smiled faintly. Good. Then we're finally where we belong. Outside, the Solène floated in calm light, the threads around it still spreading outward, connecting star after star. Somewhere across the galaxy, new lights flickered on. Ships, stations, worlds, each receiving fragments of the map. Some would understand it, some would fear it. But the process had begun. Larev stood by the viewport once more, watching as one line of light curved gently toward a distant cluster. He felt a strange pull, the same instinct that had led him beyond the border in the first place. Mora noticed the look in his eyes. Where now, Captain? He smiled, the reflection of the stars shimmering in his eyes. Where the next silence waits. The engines came alive with a low melodic hum. The ship turned, aligning with a new thread of light that reached into an untouched region of the galaxy. Behind them, the old borders were dissolving. Ahead, the path unfolded like dawn. As they accelerated into the unknown, the last message from the network whispered through the comms one more time. Quiet, calm, certain. The galactic map has one rule: never cross into human space, but once you do, you never leave it again.